Several hundreds of years ago, in Thailand, there was a golden Buddha. It was an absolute treasure to the monks at the monastery where it stood. The Thai people were under attack from the Burmese army, and they knew that anyone who saw the beautiful sight would want to steal it or destroy it. In order to save and preserve the Buddha, the monks covered it up with mud to give it the appearance of a statue of no value. And it did work. In the attack, though, all of the monks died, along with the secret of what they had done. In 1957, the monks at the same monastery were relocating. When it came to time to move the old clay Buddha, one of the monks noticed a crack in the clay. There was a shining golden light emitting from the Buddha. The monk used a hammer and chisel to remove the clay and found the entire Buddha to be made from solid gold. And it was returned to its original, glorious state. We can all be guilty of letting ourselves get covered in clay, with or without the help of others. My name's Sam Dyer. Welcome to my 108 Big Words talk. I'm going to speak to you about the importance of purpose and the significance of the number 108. I consider myself to be in a privileged position to know what my purpose is. Whilst I've been close to it for some time, it's only really been in the last few weeks that I've really known. It's all clicked into place, and I have a clarity beyond that which I've ever had before. Do you know what your purpose is? Robert Dilts and Todd Epstein created a model of what they call neurological levels. It's a hierarchical representation of levels of thought. Each level directly affects those below it. So, as you see, purpose is right up at the top there, and it affects therefore everything below it. Purpose informs your identity, so who you are. Your values and beliefs, which are those guiding principles that guide you. Your capabilities, in other words, how you do things. Your behaviour, so that's what you do. And then at the base we have environment, so that's the where and when. Now as I reflect, I think the reason that I was only close to it before was that I was still at the identity level, or even the values level at times. What I have now is above that. It's bigger than me, and it's about how I plug into the universe. It's both detached from and totally entwined with every aspect of me. Detached in the sense that it does not depend on anything, nor is it influenced by anything. Entwined because everything is informed by it. I'm still working on the part that goes in front of it. I radiate, broadcast, spread, inspire. I'm not sure what the wording should be yet. That's okay though. My purpose is all about love, light, and laughter. So how's it changing me? Well, I feel better. I feel as though I've transcended into something or somewhere. I feel energized by it, and it feels that that energy is coming from elsewhere. Like I've plugged into the universe, plugged into source. That's powerful, both literally and metaphorically. We all have various belief systems and views, so whether you say God, the universe, source, or whatever else, I don't think it really matters, although it can be very interesting to get into semantics. The point is though, I feel connected, and that gives me energy. It's more than that though, it gives me a sense of connection and well-being. It's the ultimate hygge experience. So pronounced hygge in Norwegian or hygge in Danish. There's no direct translation into English really. It's about feel-good, coziness, well-being, hot chocolate while sitting by the fire and good conversation with friends, that kind of thing. You know it when you have it. If you want to know more about that, buy Mike Viking's book, The Little Book of Hygge. Being in alignment with my purpose can only mean being in alignment with source. And there's some sort of safety in that, freedom even. Have you noticed how much I've referred to how I feel? And that's the key. We're all living in our own subjective reality. We all have our own unique map of the world, which is influenced and informed by our experiences, our upbringing, our values and beliefs, and many other factors. Now, how I feel makes a difference to how I act, and how I act influences the results that I get. I've always been a fan of goals, and I think they definitely have their place. They should be outcome orientated and actionable. I like PACER or SMARTER as a framework for goal setting. Now, I have always been someone who liked to have goals, and yet now I feel differently about it. Remember I said about freedom? Part of finding my purpose allows me freedom to be at a higher level than goals. To me, that's living intentionally, meaning with intentions. My purpose is to spread love, light and laughter. I have an intention around communicating and living that. Whilst there's certainly an outward behaviour that you would see or hear, the intention is that which is internally focused. It's about the internal communication that I have. I'm not just talking about self-talk, it's more than that. It's feeling, it's being, it's connecting, it's operating. One of my goals is to have my own podcast with 108 episodes by the end of 2021. The intention behind it is linked directly with my purpose. Living with purpose and intention gives me a different perspective on all of this human experience we call life. Have you ever heard of something called the Reticular Activating System, or RAS for short? It's all about how our brain either filters in or filters out information. Have you ever ordered a new car? All of a sudden you see that car everywhere. Often it's not just the same make, it's the same model and even the exact same colour, everywhere. Do you think that there are more of those cars on the road? No, of course not. You've become hyper aware of it, so your reticular activating system is picking up on it. You've told yourself that it's important to you. So now translate that into other aspects of your life. If you feel that collaboration, for example, is really important to you, you're much more likely to perceive the interactions you have as potential opportunities for collaboration. So live with intention. Be sure to know what you want and you'll be way more likely to actually find it. So you might be there thinking, well, that's great, but how do I find my purpose? And that's a great question. Well, there are many dots that I can now join up. That's only something you can do retrospectively. Often when you're experiencing something in the here and now, when you're in the thick of it, it can feel like you don't want it, difficult, cruel even. How many times though, when you look back at it all, do you then feel differently? With renewed perspective, you're able to reframe it as an opportunity for growth and something to learn from. I certainly know I can relate to that. There's also joining up the dots for great times, joining them up for themes too. So what themes have you got, or what themes have you had in your life? For me, people have always been a central part of it, an integral part actually. I've often been the one to organise or hold groups together, acting as the glue. I've always had a fascination around how people work and think, and I've also been someone who loves to see people do well and thrive, in whatever sense makes sense to them. Being centre of attention and presenting is something that I'm extremely comfortable with, and I enjoy it. So it's no surprise to me that coaching, presenting, training, and being the front man at events all really gets me going. There are many great questions that you can ask yourself about purpose. What do you love to do? What is it that you always notice? What would you do for free? What do you love to learn and talk about? What would you regret never trying? What sparks your creativity? Even better is to be coached through it. It's something that I've had the pleasure of working on with many clients. So what are big words then? Well, in the context I'm talking about, they're words which lead to big conversations, words of high impact or words which are thought-provoking. For example, words like miracles, words like happiness, words like love, words like connection. One of the ways in which I can live my purpose is through podcasting. My new 108 Big Words podcast gives me an outlet to spread love, light and laughter. I've set myself a challenge. I'm going to do 108 episodes of my podcast by the end of 2021. So why 108? Well, it's a special number, as many of you will already know. There are a number of reasons why the number 108 is significant, and I'm going to share some of those with you now. It's a Harshad number, which means that it's divisible by the sum of its numbers. 108 is divisible by 9. So by adding 1 plus 0 plus 8, you get 9. In Sanskrit, it means happiness. 1 also represents truth, the O representing void, and 8 representing infinity. And I also know it to mean 1 representing I, or the self, the O representing the world, and the 8 representing infinity. In yoga and Hinduism, it's a sacred number, and it represents spiritual completion. Renowned Vedic mathematicians viewed 108 as the wholeness of existence. The average distance of the Sun and Moon to Earth is 108 times their respective diameters. Plus, as mentioned, the figures add up to 9, which is also a significant number in itself. Now, I could go on, as there are many other meanings too. Have a look for yourself. The definitions are amazing. So I'd say it's not really a question of why 108. It's more a case of why wouldn't it be 108? On my podcast, many of the episodes will be with guests. Some will be names you know, some won't be. They will all be interesting people, though, who are willing to talk about big words, big subjects. So things like miracles, connection, and love. I would love you all to listen to my podcast and to follow its progression. More episodes are going to be released every week. You can go to iTunes or Spotify and search 108 Big Words. You can also get links, an RSS feed, or listen directly from the website, which is 108bigwords.com. Before I go, thank you for watching and listening. I'd like to leave you with a quote from a wonderful author, Marianne Williamson. It does mention God, and yet feel free to take that as the universe, source, or anything else which makes sense to you. She said, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, which most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others."